This is wrestling's greatest moments.
Hey now, wrestling fans. It's time for another episode of Wrestling's Greatest Moments. The moment a villain turns hero or a hero turns heel can take a fan's breath away. But what happens when a turn fails to get over with fans? Sit back as Wrestling's Greatest Moments looks at pro wrestling's most disastrous turns, Part 1. Before we get started though, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and hit that notification bell so you don't miss a single video. Anatomy of a failure. Failed wrestling turns often boil down to one of two factors. 1. The fans refuse to boo a wrestler regardless of what crimes against humanity they commit. Or 2. The fans refuse to cheer a wrestler because the wrestler in question isn't convincing as a babyface. Now this often happens with wrestlers who've spent much of their career playing a heel, or ones who just come off strongly as a villain. However, as we'll see, other forces at work can throw the proverbial monkey wrench into the works. Let's dive in and look at some of the biggest, beginning with a wrestler whose career epitomizes everything that can go wrong with turns. The Big Show. The Big Show is the patron saint of bad turns. As WrestleTalk has estimated, the big guy has turned an astonishing 36 times as of 2020. Although Wrestling's Greatest Moments doesn't agree with the Big Show Turn Tracker's methodology. For example, it counts the show's debut in WCW as the Giant as a turn. The ambitious project shows just how many turns he's had, their frequency, and their many failures. While some turns made sense, most reflect desperation and lousy booking. Wrestling's Greatest Moments will explore the Big Show's many turns in a future video. The Road Warriors, 1988. By 1988, the Road Warriors were going strong in Jim Crockett Promotions. The team was already entrenched as an unstoppable force in pro wrestling when they won the 1986 Jim Crockett Sr. Memorial Tag Team Tournament. Pinfall wins over Hawk and Animal were rare without serious shenanigans, and it often took multiple wrestlers to deliver a beatdown. Like many a roughhouse wrestler or team, the Roadies were so dominant that fans couldn't help but cheer them, whether they were billed as faces or heels, something which played a decisive role in why their turn failed. As noted in the book, The Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame, the tag teams. Hawk and Animal weren't the first face-painted team, the first to come out heavy metal, the first to use shortcuts for their physiques, the first no-sellers, the first bikers sporting feather, or the first monster heels. But their monster push, combined with the legitimate business savvy of their manager Paul Ellering, meant that they were the only team that mattered. In 1988, Jim Crockett Promotions decided to shake things up by turning the Road Warriors heels. The promotion had previously booked them against the area's top heels, including the Four Horsemen, the Russians, and the recent feud with the Powers of Pain, making them de facto babyfaces. However, there's the case to be made, albeit with the benefit of hindsight, that the fans liked the Road Warriors regardless of whom they fought. The turn happened when Sting joined Hawk and Animal in defending their NWA World Six-Man Tag Team Championship against the Varsity Club, Kevin Sullivan, Rick Steiner, and Mike Rotunda. The Roadies' partner, Dusty Rhodes, was unavailable, as he was said to be at a Special Olympics event. The NWA allowed Sting to substitute for Dusty. The match was unusual in that Hawk and Animal did not tag Sting in, even when the Varsity Club wore them down and Sting remained fresh. Well, finally, a melee broke out as all 6 wrestlers duked it out, leading to Sting locking in the Scorpion Deathlock. However, the Road Warriors pulled Sting off and attacked him. Hawk and Animal mauled the Stinger, delivering a doomsday device that Sting sold to perfection. Lex Luger confronted the Road Warriors only to get pummeled. A small army of babyfaces eventually cleared the ring as Sting was stretchered out by his many friends. Interestingly, JCP used this angle to forward Rick Steiner's slow babyface turn. Steiner, who had teamed with Sting in Bill Watts' Universal Wrestling Federation, was clearly concerned about Sting, even though Steiner was still a heel. This would be one of the many developments that led to Steiner's turn. The Road Warriors told Tony Schiavone that they were tired of carrying wrestlers like Dusty Rhodes and were only concerned about each other. Hawk and Animal's new attitude led to them destroying the Midnight Express for the NWA World Tag Team Championship, and later taking out Dusty Rhodes. Hawk and Animal removed one of their shoulder pad spikes and tried to give Dusty the Nick Fury treatment and relieve him of an eye. The bloody angle led to Dusty getting fired from JCP because management had reportedly ordered no blood to be used on TV. Just as the Road Warriors had won over fans with their constant carnage in and out of the ring, this continued with JCP's attempted heel turn. The fans continued cheering for the Road Warriors, and they quickly returned to being faces, or in this case, beating up heels instead of baby faces. JCP's failure to turn the Road Warriors was a failure to understand its audience, a common theme in many of the turns in this video. Sting, 1999. Sting's long run in WCW as the franchise, its top babyface player for years, led to some fans forgetting the Stinger's previous runs as heel. Nonetheless, by 1999, Sting was the type of wrestler who played a babyface so well that there seemed to be no reason to turn him heel. However, WCW was struggling against a resurgent WWF, and WCW's Vince Russo opted to surprise the fans by turning Sting into a villain. The turn occurred at 1999's Fall Brawl, when the Stinger challenged Hulk Hogan for the WCW World Championship. Hogan, who had ditched his Hollywood Hogan persona and returned to his heroic red and yellow attire after years running roughshod on WCW as a leader of the New World Order, shook Sting's hand before the match, a sign of the babyface versus babyface bout. Hogan appeared to have the lead as the match progressed, and only a ref bump saved Sting. Then, as often happened at the time in main event matches, various heels and babyfaces ran in. Lex Luger handed a baseball bat to Sting, who KO'd Hogan with it and locked in the Scorpion Deathlock for the win. Unfortunately, WCW's apparent efforts to recreate Hulk Hogan's 1996 heel turn by having Sting turn heel failed. The fans cheered Sting more than ever. Some believe fans were still resentful over Hogan's years as a heel and less inclined to boo Sting and cheer Hogan. Sting's recollection of the heel turn sums up everything that went wrong with it when he betrayed Hogan at Fall Brawl and his subsequent matches as a heel. I came in and chased off all the heels, helping him, Hogan, up to his feet, and then whacked him with my baseball bat. That was going to be the beginning of my switch to heel. They cheered me for doing it. Then on the TVs, and every other town we went to after that, they still cheered me. It just didn't work. The turn was an utter failure, and WCW was forced to turn Sting back to playing a babyface. The WCW was desperate for a game-changing move to help defeat the WWF, but this wasn't it. As we'll see next, another potential game-changing turn failed due to a broken heart. Goldberg, 2000. Bill Goldberg's heel turn is an instance of a wrestler wanting to expand his skills, but whose turn ended due to one little girl. Goldberg was a phenomenon in WCW. While his gimmick was as basic as you can get, give a big man a monster push and see what happens, Goldberg made the most of it and connected with WCW fans, giving them their first homegrown megastar in years. Working as a babyface, Goldberg seemed like the only wrestler who could stand up to the New World Order, giving fans hope that WCW would finally score a decisive win over the faction. Now this proved true when Goldberg defeated Hollywood Hulk Hogan for the WCW Championship, and went on to have a dominant reign, until WCW's bizarre decision to take the title off him, end his undefeated streak, and use the loss to put the title back onto Hollywood Hulk Hogan via the infamous Finger Poke of Doom match. By 2000, the WCW was in dire straits financially and creatively. Eric Bischoff revealed that he had a massive announcement concerning WCW's upcoming Great American Bash event. "We are going to change the landscape. We're going to change the face of sports entertainment and wrestling as you and everybody else knows it. And there's not a thing that there's not a thing that Vince McMahon, there's not a thing that anybody is going to be able to do to stop it." The promotion decided to shake things up by turning Goldberg heel. As discussed in the death of WCW, WCW's alleged creative team boasted a seismic shift at 2000's Great American Bash pay-per-view. The show was built around what was promised to be the biggest surprise in the history of sports entertainment, a surprise so big that it would change the landscape of the industry forever. Forever, mind you. And shockingly, Russo was telling the truth, because the surprise ended up being a poorly thought-out Goldberg heel turn that probably helped speed up the process of WCW going out of business, something that really did change the landscape of the industry forever. The main event saw Kevin Nash challenge Jeff Jarrett for the WCW World Championship. Nash was on his way to winning the title when a small army of heels invaded the ring, using the numbers game to take Kev out while the referee was unconscious. Nothing seemed to change when Goldberg, who had recently returned from a freak injury, charged the ring before promptly spearing Kevin Nash and guaranteeing Jarrett's win. Goldberg then celebrated with on-air authority figures Eric Bischoff and Vince Russo. Now Goldberg's heel turn created a new slate of babyface opponents, and WCW made sure fans knew Wild Bill was a heel. As Guy Evans details in NITRO, his comprehensive account of WCW's flagship TV show. Positioned against the affable fan favorite Hacksaw Jim Duggan, Goldberg appeared to show no remorse in devastating his opponent, a recent cancer survivor, even causing Duggan to cough up copious amounts of post-match blood. The turn was not to last, with fans less than thrilled about the thought of booing Goldberg. Eric Bischoff recalled the situation during an episode of his podcast, 83 Weeks. "We were desperate. I was very much involved in convincing Bill Goldberg to do this. I wasn't by myself, but I did support it. I remember talking to Bill about it. Bill at that time, he wasn't against doing it. He just was not comfortable doing it because he didn't feel it. Bill Goldberg only knew at this point, a 2.5-year career from when he started, but he'd been in the business for a whole less than 36 months, so he didn't have a sense of when something was right in terms of timing or wrong. In 2015, Goldberg told the Inquisitor he was eager to be a heel and had high hopes. I'm glad because I can be a role model for kids, but oh man, did I want to be a heel. I would have been the best Bruiser Brody-ish bald freaking monster anyone would have been. People think Brock Lesnar is good as a heel. Oh man." During the exclusive interview, Goldberg explained what led him to regretting the decision to play a villain. "They turned me one time in WCW in Baltimore, the night before I wrestled Hacksaw Jim Duggan, and he just got over surgery and he had cancer. I had to go out and blast him, and had a Make-A-Wish girl in the back with cancer. So I come back after the match, and she's in tears. Wrestling is wrestling, I get it. The good, bad, and evil, and trying to storyline people in and out of what they think is going to happen. But I wasn't going to do that." The youngster's reaction devastated Goldberg, and he demanded he be turned babyface. As far as Goldberg is concerned, "I failed as a wrestler in that I didn't turn heel, but I think I won as a human being. Because if there's one girl or one kid that thinks less of me and doesn't idolize me because of the fictitious stuff I've done in the ring in a negative fashion, I don't want to risk that. I didn't reach the level I could have reached, but it doesn't matter to me. That one little girl destroyed me, and I told them the next day that we're going back, immediately." Goldberg turned babyface again at August 2000's New Blood Rising show, and the angle was quickly forgotten. While this might have struck out as abrupt, WCW programming seemed to change weekly, whether it was turns, title changes, or the company dropping storylines without warning. By this time, the inexplicable had become commonplace in WCW programming, frustrating fans and giving them less reasons to tune in weekly. Now, Bill Goldberg's turn was a good idea with the potential for a successful change to his career, and perhaps even WCW. While WCW management was making many mistakes at this time, the turn itself failed for reasons beyond his control, as no one could have foreseen Goldberg's reaction to a heartbroken young fan. As we'll see next, another turn had potential, but it failed due to several factors, including an injury. Steve Austin, 2001. Steve Austin and Mr. McMahon joined forces? The mere suggestion of the two arch-enemies joining forces is enough to rock the time-space continuum, let alone the turn itself. However, that's precisely what happened at WrestleMania 17 when Vince McMahon helped Austin defeat The Rock for the WWF Championship. In his memoir, The Stone Cold Truth, Austin revealed he wanted to turn heel as he felt his Stone Cold character wasn't firing on all cylinders. WrestleMania would be the ideal venue since fans expected big things to happen there. What would be bigger than the Texas Rattlesnake turning heel and joining forces with his longtime enemy? Okay, I wanted to try something different. I wanted to challenge myself in a different way. That's the reason you turn heel, to switch gears. I thought it would be entertaining for the fans to have an opportunity to hate me for a while. I thought it was going to be good for business. The turn flopped as fans couldn't get behind Stone Cold as a heel. The WWF tried to turn the fans against Austin by having him beat up and bloody his on-screen and real-life friend Jim Ross, but even that didn't cement things. That's not to say the turn was doomed from the start. One element of Austin's heel turn is his 2-month team with Triple H as the two-man power trip. Austin's tag team with Hunter was successful and initially generated plenty of heat, including their programs against the Hardy Boys and the Brothers of Destruction, Kane and The Undertaker. Austin and Helmsley dominated the title picture, with Austin holding the WWF Championship, Helmsley the Intercontinental Championship, and both men the WWF Tag Team Championship. Now the team ended abruptly when Triple H tore his quad. If the team had continued, Triple H could have turned babyface, providing the WWF with a top babyface. With Triple H sidelined, Austin worked a comedic storyline with Vince McMahon, quickly cooling off the heat he'd built up alongside the game. Austin switched gears when he joined Shane and Stephanie's faction, the Alliance, during the Invasion angle, but it was obvious that no one was interested in a heel Austin. Just as bad, Austin's presence as a leader of the Alliance overshadowed everyone in the WCW-ECW alliance. Despite the turn failing, the Bionic Redneck thinks that the turn could have worked had he called an audible and attacked McMahon at WrestleMania 17, showing he'd outsmarted McMahon and returned to his previous anti-hero persona. I wish I had called it off right there in the ring. From that point, I wouldn't have been so much a tweener. It would have been back to, hey, there's that edgy Stone Cold. Whether he's a good guy or a bad guy or whatever, he's going to do exactly what it takes to get the job done. No friends. DTA, remember? During an episode of his Grilling JR podcast, where he discussed WrestleMania 17, Jim Ross discussed why Austin's turn fizzled. I just thought it was a knee-jerk creative decision. It was change for change's sake. I'm not a big change for change's sake guy. I was never sold on it. That was one of my biggest worries. Would I be able to get to an emotional level to get this over? Because honestly, I didn't believe in it. JR also explained how the turn hurt the WWF's main event roster. But we also lost our top babyface. We lost our two top babyfaces, one to make a movie and one to become a heel. Think about that. It was not a good strategy in planning. Fans' reluctance to boo Austin, mixed with Triple H's injury and the WWF booking Austin in weak storylines, all contributed to the turn's failure. Austin's subsequent face turn after 2001 Survivor Series was abrupt, but one that was desperately needed as the WWF moved forward from the invasion angle. Our next turn shows how second-guessing and bad booking can not only ruin a turn, but ruin a wrestler's main event status. Randy Orton face turn, 2004. Randy Orton's rapid ascent in the WWE had all the makings of a megastar. The third-generation grappler was a member of the historic 2002 class that featured Brock Lesnar, John Cena, and Batista, and success seemed inevitable. Orton joined Triple H's Evolution faction along with fellow heels Ric Flair and Batista, winning the Intercontinental Championship and enjoying a lengthy reign. Wins over top superstars such as Rob Van Dam, Shawn Michaels, and Mick Foley lent credence to Orton's self-proclaimed moniker, the Legend Killer. Orton's RKO finisher only added to his stardom, and although he played a heel, he began getting cheered. Orton made history at 2004 SummerSlam when he pinned Chris Benoit clean to become World Heavyweight Champion, the youngest WWE World Champion. The WWE then turned Orton babyface when his Evolution teammates celebrated Orton's win only to attack him. The turn promised to elevate Orton further, as he had an instant feud with three top stars. So why did the face turn fail? The conventional wisdom is that Orton wasn't comfortable playing a babyface, and that fans didn't want to cheer a traditional happy babyface. Jim Ross believes Randy's turn was not well thought, noting on his Grilling JR podcast, "I thought that making Randy a babyface was not the most judicious thing that could have been done, so I thought that that was a little bit of a knee-jerk decision." Ross also questioned whether fans could accept Orton as a babyface after his time taking out favorites like Mick Foley and mocking WWE legends. The other point was, the fans did not totally trust Randy. That Viper thing, those eyes of his, that body English, his smile, his facials did not lend to, in that era, 2004 folks, it's 15 years ago, to a trusted babyface. The idea that Orton was being positioned as a traditional babyface in the vein of 70s and 80s wrestlers doesn't add up. While the Attitude Era was over by 2004, with anti-hero Stone Cold Steve Austin winning fans over with profanity-laced promos and a take-no-prisoners attitude, Orton could have worked as an edgy babyface who fought the odds, in this case, Evolution. No, this turn failed because the WWE buried Randy Orton shortly after he won the title. Evolution's beatdown on him was necessary to facilitate the face turn, but Orton bounced back when he spit in Triple H's face when the game demanded Orton hand over the world title. Unfortunately, everything went downhill, with Orton dropping the title at the WWE's Unforgiven pay-per-view. Jim Ross believes this also hurt. And you don't know where it's going long-term, but for Randy to be turned babyface, a major change, in August. And then in September, his run is over as a champion. Seemed to me a little bit abrupt. The WWE could have had Orton chase the title and win it, but Orton's attempts failed, and he was drafted to SmackDown in 2005, turning heel to feud with The Undertaker. While Randy Orton's career would rebound and become the stuff of legend, it's arguable he might have achieved even more had his push continued rather than flying off the rails. Booking turns properly. Pro wrestling turns can benefit wrestlers and promoters, but they aren't as easy as flipping a switch and calling a heel a hero or a hero a heel. As we've seen, promoters must be savvy of their audience, prepare for contingencies such as injuries, and utilize long-term planning to see a turn through. As we saw with Goldberg's turn, even the best conceived turn can go awry due to unanticipated elements, but preparing for every conceivable contingency and knowing your audience makes it less likely a turn will fail. Do you remember these turns? And do you agree they were flops? What are your favorite failures? Are there any we missed? Share your thoughts in the comments section and let us know if there are any videos you'd like Wrestling's Greatest Moments to cover. In the meantime, subscribe to our channel, follow us on X and Instagram, and spread the good news about Wrestling's Greatest Moments, the channel that celebrates the squared circle.